Namo Namaha and welcome back. So now that we've learned how to write the vowels in Devanāgarī in their independent forms, and now that we've also learned how to write the consonants in their independent forms, now it's time to put these two together and see what happens when you have a CV format syllable, meaning a consonant followed by a vowel. The short answer is that what happens is that vowels get converted into what are called the mātrā forms of each vowel. Basically, these are diacritic forms that are added onto the consonant to indicate the vowel. For example, if you had the letter j, it'll be written like this, right? The j-kara. And the letter a would be written like this, the a-kara. But if you put those two together and you had a syllable j with the j and the a together as one, then the ekara turns into a mātrā form, which is a slanted line on top. So each of the vowels has its corresponding mātrā forms, which are going to be added to consonants. So as we go through them, we'll just choose one consonant to work with, the letter k, the velar unvoiced aspirated stop. We'll go through each mātrā and see how it gets added to the kara. If you go to the UBC Sanskrit website, we have a tool actually that shows you any mātrā combinations for any consonants that you want to see. It's kind of cool. So first of all, when you add nothing to a consonant, when there's no vowel added at all, and when you have just the consonant, there's a special symbol we mentioned before that's added to the bottom of that consonant called the virama. It's basically a slanted line that goes towards the right. It usually attaches to the main vertical line of the letter if there is one. If there isn't a main vertical line, it'll just go below the kind of lowest part of the letter. Here, for example, is da or duh. You see how the virama works there. And that would make them pronounced as it or id without the vowel afterwards. So ka with a virama, the sound k looks like this. Then we'll have, when you have ka with the vowel there's no mātrā marker at all. So it's an invisible mātrā. It's already, the vowel is already present with every consonant that we've learned how to write. So how we write ka we already know. Then if we have the long a, we'll do it by adding a vertical line to the right of the consonant. This is the same vertical bar that we learned when we made the full version of the vowel a, if you remember, when it appears on its own. And here's what then the syllable ka would look like. The mātrā for the short i is a bit unusual. It can cause spacing issues when you're learning how to write until you get used to it. The way to make the short i is to first make the vertical bar to the left of the consonant and then connect it on top with the vertical bar of the consonant using a semicircular loop. In the case of consonants like ga or ma, where there are two different vertical points on the top, each should be the larger of the vertical bars. So the way that it looks here, all the way to the right, usually. This is what ki would look like, for example. The mātrā for the long e is kind of the same, but now the vertical bar that you add is to the right of the consonant instead of to the left. Then you make the loop on top that connects the bar of this bar that you've added to the vertical bar of the consonant. Again, it should be the longer main vertical line of the consonant. For consonants like ga, which has two vertical lines, you want to use the bigger one, right? And connect it to the top line. So this is what ki would look like. The next mātrās are for the vocalic r's and the vocalic r. The vocalic r mātrā, the short r, looks like a little C that attaches below the vertical line of the consonant. It basically looks like a cedilla in French, maybe. Like with the virama, if there is no vertical bar in the consonant, then it'll attach to the bottommost part of that consonant. Here's what gr looks like. One special case to note is that when the r gara is added to the letter h, here the C shape is going to go inside of that little curl of the H on the right rather than at the big swoop on the bottom. So this is what r looks like. A bit tricky, you'll get thrown off a few times, but then eventually you'll get the hang of it. Next is the long vocalic r, and this is going to be similar to the short r, but with 2 C's instead of 1 C, so a double cediu maybe. It's also placed at the bottom of the main vertical line of the consonant. If there's no such line, it'll go below the lowest part of the consonant. Here's what gr would look like. Vocalic l is quite tricky, but thankfully you never will have to really use it. It only occurs in one situation, the root grup. Basically, you take the whole vowel r and you attach it below the vertical bar of the g gara. So it looks like this, and it's pronounced gr. Now, moving to the complex vowels a, I, o. These are going to be fairly straightforward. To add the a mātrā, basically it's a slanted line going to the left on the top, coming off the main vertical bar of the consonant. So when you have a vowel a after the k gara, it's going to look like this, and it'll be pronounced ge. Mātrā form of ai is very similar. Instead of one slanted line on top, you have 2 slanted lines, both coming from the same point, the top of the vertical bar. So this would be g gara plus the ai gara, which would become gai. Then to form the mātrā for o, we basically put together the 2 that we've learned so far. We use a vertical bar on the right of the consonant, like we did with a, and then we add a slanted line on top like we did with a. So this is going to come now from the vertical bar that we just added. That's important to remember. Make sure it attaches to the added vertical bar, not the vertical bar of the consonant itself. So it forms a little house, I think of. So k gara plus o would look like this. It would be pronounced go. Put a little house on the side. The last of the vowels is o, and it works analogously with ai. Instead of 1 slant on top, there's 2. So you have the vertical bar to the right of the consonant, and not 1, but 2 slanted lines popping out from the top, and that are, again, now added to this new vertical bar you've drawn, not to the consonant itself. House with 2 roofs, I don't know. So here we have go. These are the consonants. There's 2 additional very important markers that we should look at before drawing the segment to a close. When you have a nasalized vowel, this gets depicted with what's called an anuswara, a dot that's placed on above the consonant. So if you have k, and if you put a dot above it, it gets pronounced gum. It's not a full-fledged consonant nasal, but instead, those are, remember, called the anunasikas, the nasal class. Instead, it's a nasalization of the vowel that's there. So here it's gong, where the is being nasalized. So that when you're pronouncing the you let air go through your nose. You can have nasalized, any of the other vowels can also be nasalized. Here it would be gyung, for example, where the dot nasalizes the short e. You can have king, gung, gung, grum, grum, glum, game, gam, gom, gom. All of these are possible, right? In every case, all you do is put a dot above and you nasalize. So the one thing to remember is that the mātrā vowel on top, if there's a mātrā vowel on top with a, I, o, then the dot's going to go to the right of the mātrā, the right of the slanted line. Same with long and short e, the dot will go to the right of that loop that's on top, never to the left or never inside of it. The last symbol I want to look at is, you've already encountered probably in various places if you've ever seen Sanskrit written, in our videos, for example. This is a very special sound called the Visarga, which is represented by 2 dots that come to the right of the consonant. Basically, it looks like a colon to the right of a letter. The Visarga is a very special symbol in Sanskrit. It's kind of characteristic of Sanskrit in ways, and what it does is it makes an H sound followed by an echo of the preceding vowel of the syllable. The echo is always the short version of the vowel, no matter which vowel it is. So if you have the syllable ka, and then you have a visarga, it gets pronounced kaha. Then if you have ka and the visarga, it'll be kaha. Right? Then if you have ki, you have kihi. If you have ki, you'll have kihi. Remember, it's a short e that's echoed, not the long. Kuhu, you have kuhu. Same way. You'll never see the visarga with r or lr, so let's skip those. For complex vowels, you'll get ke, you might expect. But for the ai, the diphthong, it's going to echo just the short e, actually. It'll become kaihi. Then for o, you'll have goho. And then o, it's going to be similar to ai, it'll be gohu, the short u. Don't worry if you forget all this. Just remember that there's an H and an echo of the vowel that gets added when the Visarga appears. As we practice and as we learn pronunciation more and more, I'll help you out and I'll give you little corrections. And eventually you'll become a total master of the Visarga. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, those are the mātrā vowels and the other special symbols that are added to consonants. We'll take a break here. You can review how these work. Use the ubcsanskrit.ca site to practice more, to read, to write all of the different consonant vowel mātrā combinations. And once you start feeling confident with what you've learned so far, you're getting all the letters down, now it's time to tackle maybe the trickiest part of learning Devanāgarī script, which are the many different conjunct consonants, the sanyukta vyanjanani that appear when two consonants are smashed together, clustered into one. Till then, thanks for watching. Hope that you're getting the hang of Devanāgarī script, and we'll see you next time. Punarmilamaha. Dhanyavadaha.